What's up, G.I. Joe fans? Welcome back to the M.I.B. Master Museum. I'll be your curator today. Guys, we got another cool one for you. All the way from 2001, a timeless collection exclusive. We bring you the Australian jungle fighter. Let's bring this guy in. This was a set that I was anticipating all the way back in 2001. This was a set that originally was released in the 1960s as a part of the foreign soldiers of the world collection line for G.I. Joe. We had the Australian, and then you have the German, the British, the Russian. You know, you had all these different soldiers from around the world, and Hasbro really did a phenomenal job at putting these guys out back in the 1960s. They are very, very expensive. They are very difficult to find. And then you have Timeless Collection. Hasbro put out Timeless Collection in the late 1990s, early 2000s, and they started to target a lot of these older sets from the 1960s, and what you get is just pure joy because sets that that you just couldn't afford right now. I mean, this Australian jungle fighter set, even now, is expensive. Now I think I paid, oh my goodness, about close to $40 retail when it came out in 2001. But a vintage set just like this in C10 museum condition like this would be astronomical financially. A lot of these sets don't exist anymore in this condition. And that's primarily because the kids played with their toys back in the 1960s. They weren't trying to collect and preserve and start a museum, and they weren't thinking about all that stuff. So this was very cool to have. And my one negative takeaway from this set, and has nothing to do with the figure. It all builds off the fact that it was so successful. This was a really cool set that Hasbro released with Timeless Collection. The thing is, they didn't give us any more of these guys. You know, they left us stranded with the Australian jungle fighter, which is super cool, and they left a lot of collectors wanting more of these figures because we just didn't get them. I wanted the British one desperately, and I wanted the German figure as well, but they didn't make any more of these for whatever reason. Hasbro had their reasons, I'm sure, but they didn't produce any more of these figures. I purchased my Australian jungle fighter from Target back in 2001, and he is simply gorgeous, just beautiful. The foreign head sculpt and all of this is just taken from the original molds and designs from the actual 1960s G.I. Joe Foreign Soldiers of the World. As you can see, our guy's locked in there pretty good. Even the rubber bands, and you guys know how I feel about those rubber bands, are still intact. Beautifully done. He comes with a ton of equipment. One of the biggest selling points was this flamethrower. A beautiful, beautiful flamethrower. Guys, if you're just joining us, welcome to the M.I.B. Master Museum. Please like and subscribe. This is what we do. We hang out in our museum. It's a beautiful day. I wanted to come down here and do some work and share some awesome figures with you guys. Here's his medal. Here's their manual that came with these figures even back then. This is the counterintelligence manual. Get you the fighting man here. Confidential. A time grenades there. We'll turn this box around. The artwork, everything reminiscent of the 1960 foreign soldiers of the world. Let's go up top. Here's his, got a lot of dust. I'm sorry, guys. A lot of dust on there. His equipment list. This guy doesn't get out much. Here's a blown up shot of the back of the box. I gotta hold it up here. It doesn't stand too well. Action soldiers of the world. And here's a backstory on an Australian jungle fighter. Let's get you a year. 2001. Guys, what do you think of our timeless collection? Jungle, Australian jungle fighter. Do you have this guy? This figure, surprisingly enough, was not out very long. I don't know if that was due to popularity or sales or why Hasbro simply did not build on the momentum of this particular figure line and add more figures. You can see he's got the classically styled hand sculpts there. Everything from the 60s as it was back in the 1960s. I don't know why Hasbro didn't build on this guy. He wasn't in stores long. As a matter of fact, when I went to Target to purchase mine, there were two of them on the shelf. I always take the one I think the box condition is better, so I took the one that the box condition was really good. So, and there was one left, but just a beautiful, beautiful figure, museum quality. I've seen this set go as high as $100, and I've seen it as low as $60. So it's somewhere right there in between. Cotswold Collectibles is the place I would start looking for this guy if you want this guy. If you absolutely positively have to have this guy in your collection, I would start with Cotswold Collectibles first, because they are they're going to give you a fair price on these figures. It's not like eBay where you may go in there and they're going to start the bidding at $80, or you can get a buy it now type situation, but they ramp up the prices on some of these figures. Yes, a vintage figure, loose figure like this with all of his accessories with him, which is very difficult to do. It's very difficult to find this figure loose, vintage, with all of his accessories. But let's just, let's humor ourselves and say that, we could find it. You're still talking about, $1,000-something. Especially if the condition of the uniform and everything is. You see he's got this knife with the brass knuckles attached to him. Beautifully done. Just like the original. Try and get you a better shot of that. Metal. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous set. This came on the original G.I. Joe body from the 1960s. Vintage body. Vintage now, I should say. Guys, we have more fun in store for you. We just wanted to share our timeless collection Australian Jungle Fighter with you. You know the routine, guys. God bless. And keep collecting.